The stars burned cold and distant as Commander Jake Morrison watched his fleet die. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge of the UES Defiant, while enemy plasma fire lit up the darkness around them. Each bright flash meant another human ship was gone forever. "Sir, we lost the Guardian," Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez called from her station. Her voice shook, but she kept working. "The Phoenix is breaking apart too." Jake gripped the command chair, tighter. The 3rd Defense Fleet had started with 47 ships. Now only 12 remained. The Zephyrian Empire had come to human space with technology that made their best weapons look like toys. Their shields stopped everything humans could throw at them. Their guns cut through human armor like it was paper. "Enemy dreadnoughts moving into bombing position," Amy said. "They're targeting the shipyards." Through the view screen, Jake could see the massive alien ships. They looked like black daggers against the stars. Each one was 3 times bigger than his heaviest cruiser. Hundreds of smaller enemy fighters swarmed around them like angry insects. The human defense platforms were already burning wrecks floating in space. The comm system crackled with desperate voices. Captain Ryan Hughes from the UES Titan was trying to rally what was left of the fleet. Admiral Kate Sullivan was calling from the orbital station below, her usual calm voice tight with fear. Everyone knew this was the end. "All ships, form up, on me," Ryan's voice came through the speakers. "We're going straight at their command ship. It's our only chance." Jake looked at his crew. They were young, most of them. Amy was barely 25. The weapons officer, Lieutenant Sam Parker, still had pictures of his kids on his console. They all knew what Ryan was asking. It was a suicide run. "Set course for the enemy flagship," Jake ordered. Full speed. The Defiant shook as its engines pushed beyond safe limits. Around them, the surviving human ships did the same. The UES Titan led the charge, its hull already scarred from earlier fights. The heavy cruiser UES Storm followed close behind, trailing atmosphere from a dozen holes in its side. The Zephyrian ships seemed to sense what was coming. Their formation shifted to meet the human attack. Gun ports opened along their dark hulls like glowing eyes. Jake had seen those guns before. They fired beams of pure energy that could slice a human ship in half. "Incoming transmission from Admiral Sullivan," the comm officer announced. Kate Sullivan's face appeared on the main screen. The Admiral looked tired and old. Behind her, Jake could see the command center of the orbital station. People were running back and forth trying to coordinate the evacuation of millions of civilians. "All ships, this is Sullivan," the Admiral said. "I know what you're about to do. The evacuation ships need more time. Hold them as long as you can." The transmission ended. Jake felt the weight of those words. Somewhere behind the battle, transport, ships were trying to escape with families and children. Every minute the fleet could buy meant more lives saved. "Distance to target 2,000 kilometers and closing," Amy reported. "Enemy ships are charging weapons." The first Zephyrian salvo lit up space like a second sun. Beams of purple energy reached out toward the human ships. The UES Storm took 3 direct hits and simply vanished in a ball of fire. The cruiser UES Thunder managed to dodge the first beam, but the second one cut it cleanly in 2. "Return fire," Jake ordered. Human. Missiles and energy beams struck the enemy shields and vanished like raindrops on glass. The Zephyrian technology was just too advanced. Their shields seemed to absorb everything the humans could throw at them. The Titan was taking heavy fire now. Jake could see explosions along its hull as Ryan pushed his ship closer to the enemy flagship. Other human ships were dying all around them, but they kept going. It was all they could do. "Sir, long-range sensors are picking up something," Amy said suddenly. Her voice sounded confused. "There's a massive contact coming in from the outer system." Jake glanced at the sensor display. Whatever was coming was big. Bigger than anything in either fleet. The energy signature was off the charts. "Can you identify it?" he asked. "Negative, sir. It's not matching any known ship design. The power readings don't make sense." On the main screen, the Zephyrian flagship was getting closer. Jake could see weapon ports opening all along its hull. In seconds, those guns would fire, and the Defiant would join the other burning wrecks floating in space. Contact is dropping out of faster-than-light travel, Amy announced. It's entering the system now. The tactical display updated with the new arrival. Jake stared at the readings in disbelief. The unknown ship was huge, easily twice the size of the largest human dreadnought. Its acceleration curve suggested technology far beyond anything either side possessed. "Are you getting any communication from it?" Jake asked. "Negative, sir. It's maintaining radio silence." The Zephyrian guns were almost ready to fire. Jake could see the enemy flagship's main weapon charging up. That single blast would be enough to destroy what was left of the human fleet. The mysterious new arrival was too far away to help, even if it wanted to. Ryan Hughes made one last, desperate attempt. The Titan fired everything it had at the enemy command ship. Missiles, energy beams, even the emergency charges meant for mining operations. All of it struck the Zephyrian shields and vanished without effect. Then the enemy flagship fired back. The purple beam was so bright it hurt to look at. Jake watched helplessly as it reached out toward the Titan. Ryan's ship had given everything. It had, but it wasn't enough. Just as the beam was about to strike, something impossible happened. The unknown ship had somehow crossed half the system in seconds. It was moving toward the battle at speeds that should have been impossible. Whatever it was coming fast. The Zephyrian commander seemed to notice the new arrival too. Some of the enemy ships began turning their weapons toward the mysterious vessel. But it was still too far away to matter. The purple beam struck the Titan dead center. Jake closed his eyes, not wanting to see another friend die. But when he opened them again, something had changed. The beam was still there, but it was bending away from Ryan's ship. Something was deflecting it. "Sir?" Amy's voice was barely a whisper. "The unknown contact is accelerating again. It's coming right at us." The unknown ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Geneva system, like nothing Jake Morrison had ever seen. What emerged from the bright flash of displaced space defied every expectation he had about human engineering. The vessel was massive, easily twice the size of the largest human dreadnought, but its shape was all wrong. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez stared at her sensor readings with wide eyes. "Sir, I'm getting some very strange numbers here. The hull design doesn't match anything in our database." Jake studied the tactical display. The ship was definitely there, a solid contact on all sensors, but something about it seemed impossible. Its acceleration curves suggested technology that went far beyond what either humanity or the Zephyrians possessed. No ship should be able to move that fast. "Try to establish communication," Jake ordered. "Find out who they are and what they want." The comm officer worked at his station for several minutes. "No response, sir. They're maintaining complete radio silence." On the main view screen, the mysterious vessel continued its approach toward the battle. It moved with purpose, following a direct course that would bring it right into the middle of the fighting. Whatever its intentions, it wasn't trying to avoid the conflict. Captain Ben Walsh, commanding the light destroyer UES Swift, was the first to get a clear visual on the approaching ship. His destroyer had been damaged in the earlier fighting but was still able to maneuver. When the unknown vessel came within visual range, Ben couldn't believe what he was seeing. "This is Captain Walsh to all ships." His voice came over the comm system. "You need to see this. The approaching vessel has human markings." Jake switched his main screen to the visual feed from the Swift. What he saw made him grip his command chair tighter. The ship did indeed bear human markings, but they were unlike anything currently in service. The hull numbers and insignia were old, far older than any ship in the current fleet. Dr. Lisa Grant, the lead researcher aboard the orbital station, was monitoring the battle from her laboratory. When she saw the sensor readings from the mysterious ship, she immediately began running comparisons against historical databases. What she found made no sense at all. "Admiral Sullivan," she called over the communication system. "The approaching vessel is showing hull composition patterns that shouldn't be possible with known human metallurgy. The energy signatures are definitely human in origin, but the power output readings are completely off the charts." The Zephyrian fleet commander, Warlord Kethvar, had initially dismissed the new arrival as just another primitive human vessel to be destroyed, along with the rest. His tactical officers had been tracking the approaching ship, but their initial scan suggested it was nothing special. That assessment was about to change dramatically. Warlord, his chief tactical officer, reported, "The human vessel is displaying capabilities we did not expect. Its acceleration and approach vector suggest technology that could pose a significant threat to our forces." Kethvar studied the tactical display with growing interest. The human ships they had been fighting were primitive, their weapons barely able to scratch Zephyrian shields. But this new arrival was different. Its approach speed and maneuvering suggested something far more advanced. As the mysterious ship closed the distance to the battle zone, it finally responded to human communication attempts. The voice that came through the comm system was definitely human, but there was something unusual about the accent. It sounded somehow archaic, like recordings from old historical documents. "This is Captain Paul Turner of the UES Horizon," the voice announced clearly. "We are moving to assist human forces. All ships prepare for combat operations." Jake felt a surge of hope at hearing another human voice, but the name meant nothing to him. "Amy, do we have any record of a ship called the Horizon?" Lieutenant Rodriguez worked quickly at her station, accessing the fleet database. "Sir, I'm showing a UES Horizon that was part of a deep space exploration mission launched 50 years ago. The ship was presumed lost when it failed to report back after entering the Outer Rim territories." "That's impossible," Jake muttered. "No ship could survive that long without support." Captain Turner's voice came through the comm system again. "To all human vessels, this is the Horizon. We have been monitoring your engagement with hostile forces. We are prepared to render assistance, but we will need your cooperation." The ship was close enough now for detailed scans. What the sensors revealed was even more puzzling than before. The hull showed signs of extensive modification, with entire sections that didn't match the original design specifications. Strange. Materials had been integrated into the structure, creating patterns that human engineering had never produced. Dr. Grant was working frantically to analyze the incoming data. "The modifications to that ship are incredible," she reported to Admiral Sullivan. "Someone has rebuilt it from the ground up using technology I don't recognize." The Zephyrian forces were beginning to take notice of the approaching vessel as, well, several enemy ships had turned their sensors toward the horizon, trying to assess the potential threat. What their scans revealed concerned them greatly. "Warlord," the tactical officer reported with obvious worry, "the human vessel is not responding to our sensor probes in the expected manner. Its shielding appears to be of a type we have not encountered before." Kethvar ordered his fleet to maintain formation, but keep weapons trained on the approaching ship. If this new arrival proved to be a threat, they would destroy it along with the rest of the human forces. Captain Turner established a direct communication link with Commander Morrison aboard the Defiant. "Commander, I need you to pull your ships back from the enemy fleet. What we're about to do requires some maneuvering. Room?" Jake was torn between hope and suspicion. "Captain Turner, where have you been for the past 50 years? And what do you mean by what you're about to do?" "That's a long story, Commander," Turner replied. "Right now, just trust me and get your people clear of the enemy formation. We've learned a few things during our time away. The UES Horizon was now close enough for visual confirmation from multiple ships. What everyone could see was a vessel that had clearly been through extensive modifications. The original human design was still recognizable, but it had been enhanced with technology that seemed almost alien in nature." Lieutenant Sam Parker, the weapons officer aboard the Defiant, was studying the tactical readings from the horizon. "Sir, I'm not getting normal energy signatures from that ship. Whatever they've done to it, it's not running on standard human technology." The Zephyrian fleet began to shift formation, turning more weapons toward the approaching human vessel. Warlord Kethvar was taking no chances with this unknown factor. If the ship proved to be a threat, he would eliminate it quickly. "All vessels target the approaching human ship," Kethvar ordered. "Prepare to fire on my command." Captain Turner seemed to sense the growing tension. His voice came over the comm system one more time, directed at both the human and Zephyrian fleets. "To all vessels in this system, you are about to witness capabilities that will change your understanding of what's possible. I suggest you pay attention." The horizon began to accelerate toward the Zephyrian fleet. But something was wrong with the way it moved. The ship seemed to flicker in and out of solid existence, as if it was only partially present in normal space. The sensors couldn't get a solid lock on it. Jake watched in amazement as the impossible ship approached the enemy fleet. Whatever Captain Turner and his crew had discovered during their 50-year absence, it was about to change everything. Captain Paul Turner's voice carried across the communication channels with an authority that made everyone listen. As the UES horizon maintained its impossible position between the human and Zephyrian fleets, Turner began to explain what had happened during the 50 years since his ship had vanished into deep space. When the horizon left human space 50 years ago, we were on a standard exploration mission. Turner's voice was calm despite the chaos around them. Our orders were to investigate unusual energy readings in the Outer Rim territories. What we found out there changed everything we thought we knew about the universe. Commander Jake Morrison, still aboard the damaged Defiant, found himself hanging on every word. The battle had paused as both sides tried to understand what they were dealing with. The Zephyrian fleet maintained their weapons lock on the mysterious human ship, but they seemed hesitant to fire. We discovered the wreckage of an ancient starship, Turner continued. The vessel was massive, far larger than anything either humans or Zephyrians have ever built. Our scans indicated it was millions of years old, left behind by a race we came to call the predecessors. Dr. Lisa Grant, monitoring from the orbital station, felt her scientific training rebel against what she was hearing. Captain Turner, are you claiming you found evidence of an ancient alien civilization that predates both our species? Not just evidence, Doctor, Turner replied. We found their technology, and it was still functional. The derelict ship wasn't just wreckage. It was a repository of knowledge and tools that made our most advanced systems look primitive. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez worked frantically at her sensor station aboard the Defiant. The readings from the horizon continued to defy explanation. The ship's energy output was fluctuating in patterns that suggested technology far beyond human understanding. Sir, she reported to Jake, I'm detecting energy signatures that don't match any known power source. Whatever they're using to run that ship, it's not fusion or antimatter. Chief Engineer Maria Santos aboard the Horizon took over the communication. Her voice carried the enthusiasm of someone who had spent decades working with impossible technology. What we found wasn't just a dead ship. The predecessors had left behind systems that were still active, still learning, still evolving. We spent years trying to understand even the basics. The story that emerged was incredible beyond belief. The crew of the Horizon had encountered technology that seemed to operate on principles human science was only beginning to theorize about. The ancient aliens had developed methods of manipulating matter and energy that bordered on what primitive cultures might call magic. The first breakthrough came when our ship suffered critical damage exploring the derelict, Maria continued. We had no choice but to attempt repairs using predecessor components. What started as desperate improvisation became a complete technological revolution. Admiral Kate Sullivan, coordinating the defense from her command station, found herself torn between hope and disbelief. If what Turner claimed was true, it could change the course of the war against the Zephyrian Empire. But the claims seemed too incredible to accept. Captain Turner, she interrupted, you're asking us to believe that you've spent 50 years integrating alien technology into a human starship. Can you provide proof of these capabilities? Turner's response was immediate. Admiral, look at your sensor readings. We're maintaining position in the middle of a battle zone without taking any damage from either side. Our shields are operating on principles your scientists haven't discovered yet. If that's not proof enough, I can provide more. The Zephyrian warlord Kethvar was growing impatient with the extended conversation. His fleet had been prepared to deliver the final blow to human resistance when the strange ship had appeared. Now his tactical officers were reporting sensor readings that made no sense. The human vessel continues to defy our attempts at detailed scanning, his chief officer reported. Our weapon systems cannot achieve a target lock. The ship appears to be partially existing in normal space and partially elsewhere. Kethvar ordered his fleet to prepare for combat regardless of the unusual readings. Whatever technology they possess, It cannot protect them from concentrated fire from our entire fleet. Prepare all weapons. Lieutenant Colonel Danny Cooper, the Horizon's tactical officer, seemed to sense the Zephyrian intentions. His voice joined the conversation with urgent authority. All human vessels, we need to coordinate our efforts. The enemy fleet is preparing for a major assault. Jake Morrison found himself thrust into a position of decision. Everything he knew about space combat suggested that Turner's claims were impossible. But the sensor readings from the Horizon supported the incredible story. More importantly, humanity needed every advantage it could get. Captain Turner, Jake said carefully. What are you proposing? The predecessor technology gives us capabilities the Zephyrians cannot match, Turner explained. But we have limitations. The ancient systems require a specific type of rare element to function at full capacity. Our reserves are nearly depleted. Maria Santos provided the technical details that made everyone understand the gravity of the situation. We have enough power remaining for perhaps one major engagement. After that, the advanced systems will shut down permanently and will be just another human ship. The plan that Turner proposed was both audacious and desperate. The conventional human fleet would coordinate a massive diversionary attack to draw Zephyrian fire and attention. While the enemy was focused on the obvious threat, the Horizon would use its advanced capabilities to strike directly at the alien command structure. The predecessor technology allows us to phase partially out of normal space, Turner explained. We can pass through enemy shields and armor as if they weren't there, but we need the enemy distracted to get close enough. Dr. Grant, listening from the research station, understood the implications immediately. You're asking the fleet to sacrifice itself so you can get one shot at the enemy command ship. Not sacrifice, Doctor, Turner corrected. Distract. If we can eliminate the Zephyrian command structure, their fleet will lose coordination. Even without the predecessor technology, human ships can handle individual enemy vessels if they're not working together. Admiral Sullivan made the decision that everyone had been waiting for. All ships prepare for coordinated assault. We follow Captain Turner's plan. Jake Morrison looked around his bridge at the young faces of his crew. They had already survived, longer than anyone had expected. Now they were being asked to risk everything on the word of a captain who claimed to possess impossible technology. Sir, Amy Rodriguez said quietly, the Zephyrian fleet is beginning to move. If we're going to do this, it has to be now. Turner's voice came over the comm one final time before the battle resumed. To all human vessels, remember that we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human colony, every family, every child who deserves to grow up free from alien domination. Today we show the galaxy what humanity is capable of. The communication channels went silent as both fleets prepared for what everyone knew would be the final engagement. Either Turner's impossible claims would prove true, and humanity would survive, or they would all die together in the cold darkness of space. There was no middle ground. The coordinated human attack began exactly as Captain Paul Turner had planned. Commander Jake Morrison aboard the UES Defiant led the charge, his damaged ship pushing its engines beyond all safety limits. Behind him, the remaining vessels of HFY, the Third Defense Fleet, followed in a desperate assault that looked like nothing more than humanity's final death throes. Every missile tube opened fire simultaneously. Hundreds of warheads streaked toward the Zephyrian battle line, followed by waves of energy beams and the few remaining fighter craft that could still fly. The UES Titan, its hull-scarred and bleeding atmosphere, emptied its entire weapons inventory in one massive salvo. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez worked frantically at her tactical station as explosions bloomed against the enemy shields. All weapons, firing, sir. We're throwing everything we have at them. The Zephyrian response was immediate and devastating. Warlord Kethvar saw what appeared to be another desperate human assault and ordered his entire fleet to focus their firepower on the approaching ships. Purple beams of energy reached out across space, seeking to end human resistance once and for all. This was exactly what Captain Turner had hoped would happen. While the Zephyrian fleet concentrated all their attention on the obvious threat, the UES Horizon began to do something that should have been impossible. The ship started to fade from normal space, becoming translucent like a ghost. Chief Engineer Maria Santos monitored the predecessor systems as they came online. Phase transition. At 30%, she reported to Turner. The quantum displacement field is stabilizing. Dr. Lisa Grant, watching from the orbital research station, saw sensor readings that violated every law of physics she understood. The horizon was still there, but somehow not there at the same time. It existed partially in normal space and partially in some other dimension that human science had never discovered. The first Zephyrian salvo tore into the advancing human ships. The UES Thunder vanished in a ball of fire as 3 enemy beams struck it simultaneously. The heavy cruiser, UES Storm, took a direct hit to its engine section and began tumbling out of control, its crew dead or dying. But the human ships kept coming. Captain Ryan Hughes aboard the Titan maintained course even as enemy fire chewed his ship apart. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Walsh pushed his destroyer Swift through the enemy fire, using his ship's smaller size to dodge between the larger beams. "Sir, we're losing ships fast," Amy reported as another friendly contact vanished from her screen. "But the enemy is taking the bait. All their weapons are focused on us." Jake Morrison watched the tactical display as the horizon began its impossible approach to the enemy fleet. The ghost ship was moving through space in ways that defied understanding, passing through debris and energy fields as if they weren't there. The Zephyrian sensors couldn't track it properly. Lieutenant Colonel Danny Cooper, the Horizon's tactical officer, coordinated the approach with surgical precision. "Phase displacement at 70%, Captain. We're invisible to their sensors now. Beginning final approach to the enemy flagship." The Zephyrian command ship was a massive vessel, easily 4 times the size of the largest human dreadnought. Its hull was covered with weapons emplacements and sensor arrays, all of which were focused on the conventional human attack. None of them detected the approaching ghost ship. Warlord Kethvar stood on his command bridge, watching the primitive human ships die under his fleet's concentrated fire. In minutes, the last of human resistance would be eliminated, and he could begin the bombardment of their colonies. Victory was within his grasp. "Warlord," his tactical officer reported, "the human vessels are maintaining their attack despite heavy casualties. They appear to be fighting to the last ship." "Let them," Kethvar replied with satisfaction. "Their bravery will be remembered when we write the history of their extinction." But something was wrong with the sensor readings. The tactical officer frowned as he studied his displays. There was a ghost contact somewhere in the battle zone, something that appeared and disappeared from their screens like a sensor malfunction. Captain Turner brought the horizon to within a few hundred meters of the Zephyrian flagship's hull. Using predecessor technology that existed partially outside normal space, his ship was completely invisible to enemy sensors. The alien shields that had stopped every human weapon couldn't even detect them. "Maria, are you ready for materialization?" Turner asked his chief engineer. "Predecessor systems are at full power, Captain. We can phase back into normal space anywhere you want us to." Turner studied the tactical display showing the interior structure of the enemy ship. The predecessor sensors could see through the alien hull as if it were glass, revealing the command center where Warlord Kethvar was directing the battle. "Take us into normal space inside their command bridge," Turner ordered. What happened next would be talked about in human history for generations to come. The UES Horizon simply materialized inside the Zephyrian command center, its hull occupying the same space as alien bulkheads and control systems. The predecessor technology made both ships exist in the same location without actually touching. Warlord Kethvar found himself staring through his command bridge viewport at the interior of a human starship. The impossible sight froze his tactical staff in shock. Their most advanced shields and armor had been bypassed as if they didn't exist. Lieutenant Emma Clark, serving as the Horizon's weapons officer, activated systems that operated on principles the Zephyrians had never encountered. Instead of conventional energy weapons or explosives, the predecessor technology manipulated matter at the subatomic level. "Firing quantum dissolution beam," Emma announced calmly. The effect was unlike anything in conventional warfare. Rather than simply destroying the enemy command ship, The predecessor weapon caused the alien vessel to literally come apart at the molecular level. Metal became dust, energy systems dissipated harmlessly into space, and the mighty Zephyrian flagship simply ceased to exist. The psychological impact on both fleets was immediate and dramatic. The surviving human ships watched in amazement as their seemingly invincible enemy began to fall apart. Captain Ryan Hughes, his ship barely holding together, couldn't believe what his sensors were showing. The enemy flagship just disintegrated, he reported over the comm system. I don't know how, but it's gone. The Zephyrian fleet, meanwhile, faced something their military doctrine had never prepared them for. Ships that had been pressing their attack moments before now broke formation, in confusion. The loss of their command vessel had shattered their coordination completely. Warlord Kethvar's second-in-command, aboard another vessel, tried to rally the scattered alien ships. But the demonstration of superior technology had broken Zephyrian confidence. These humans possessed weapons that could bypass all their defenses and destroy their most powerful ships effortlessly. Turner brought the Horizon back into normal space near the human fleet. The ship was solid and visible again, but everyone could see that something had changed. The hull was darker somehow, as if the incredible effort had drained something vital from the vessel. All human ships, this is Turner. The captain's voice came over the comm system. The enemy command structure has been eliminated. Their fleet is breaking up. Pursue and destroy individual vessels as opportunities present themselves. Jake Morrison looked at his tactical display and saw that Turner was right. The Zephyrian ships that had seemed invincible minutes before were now fleeing in all directions. Without their central command, they were just individual vessels that could be handled by conventional human tactics. All ships, begin pursuit, Jake ordered. Let's finish this. The Battle of New Geneva was effectively over. Those Zephyrian ships that didn't retreat fast enough were systematically hunted down by the surviving human vessels. The alien empire's invasion fleet had been shattered by a single impossible ship and the courage of ordinary human crews. But even as victory became clear, everyone could see that the Horizon was paying a price for its incredible capabilities. The ship's hull was flickering in and out of visibility, as if the predecessor systems were struggling to maintain their hold on normal space. Turner's voice came over the comm one final time as his ship began to stabilize. The immediate threat is over, but this is just the beginning. What we've learned out there changes everything about humanity's place in the galaxy. The Battle of New Geneva ended not with a prolonged fight, but with the complete collapse of Zephyrian resistance. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the last enemy ships disappear into faster-than-light travel. Those alien vessels that had not retreated quickly enough lay scattered across the system as burning debris. Captain Paul Turner's voice came over the communication system one final time as the immediate battle concluded. All human vessels, cease pursuit. The predecessor systems are nearly depleted and we cannot risk another major engagement without time to recharge. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez studied her tactical display with amazement. Less than an hour ago, the human fleet had been facing complete annihilation. Now the Zephyrian invasion force was gone, scattered to the far reaches of space by the demonstration of impossible technology. Sir, she reported to Jake, I'm showing 17 enemy vessels destroyed and 23 in full retreat. The threat to New Geneva has been eliminated. Admiral Kate Sullivan, coordinating from the orbital command station, felt a mixture of relief and bewilderment. The victory was complete, but it raised more questions than it answered. A single human ship had accomplished what their entire fleet could not, using technology that shouldn't exist. Captain Turner, the Admiral called over the comm system. We need to discuss what happens next. Your ship has changed the entire strategic situation. The UES Horizon hung in space near the surviving human vessels, its hull flickering occasionally, as the predecessor systems struggled to maintain stability. Dr. Lisa Grant, monitoring from the research station, was recording every sensor reading she could capture. The scientific implications of what she had witnessed would take decades to fully understand. Turner brought his ship alongside the Defiant for the first face-to-face meeting between the crews. When the airlock opened, Jake Morrison got his first look at the man who had saved humanity. Turner appeared older than his service record suggested, with gray in his hair and lines around his eyes that spoke of years dealing with impossible situations. "Commander Morrison," Turner said as he stepped aboard, "thank you for trusting us when it mattered most." Behind Turner came Chief Engineer Maria Santos, her uniform modified with equipment that looked more alien than human. The tools on her belt incorporated materials and designs that had no place in human technology, yet they clearly served essential functions for maintaining the Horizon systems. Jake led them to the Defiance briefing room where Admiral Sullivan was waiting via video link. Dr. Grant had also connected from the research station, her scientific instruments already analyzing the strange energy signatures that surrounded Turner and his crew. "Captain Turner," Admiral Sullivan began, "we need to understand exactly what you've discovered out there. The technology you've demonstrated could change the course of human civilization." Turner activated a portable display device that projected a three-dimensional map of the local galactic region. The map showed star systems and trade routes, but also something else. Scattered throughout the display were markers indicating other locations where predecessor technology might be found. "The derelict we discovered 50 years ago wasn't unique," Turner explained. "The predecessors left installations throughout this part of the galaxy. Most of them are inactive, but they contain technology and knowledge that could transform human society." Maria Santos took over the technical explanation. "The power source we've integrated into the Horizon is just one example of what they developed. They had methods of generating energy that tap directly into the quantum structure of space itself. Their computers operate on principles that make our best artificial intelligence look like simple calculators." Dr. Grant leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her amazement. "Are you saying there are more sites like the one you discovered? Places where we could learn to build ships like the Horizon?" "Not just ships, Doctor," Turner replied. "The predecessors developed technology for everything from faster-than-light communication to matter replication. They had the ability to terraform entire worlds in a matter of years rather than centuries. The implications were staggering. Humanity had been fighting a defensive war against the Zephyrian Empire, struggling to protect their existing colonies. But with predecessor technology, they could expand into star systems that had previously been unreachable. They could establish colonies in environments that would normally be hostile to human life." Lieutenant Colonel Danny Cooper, who had come aboard with Turner, provided the military perspective. "The Zephyrians aren't the only threat out there. Our exploration of predecessor sites has revealed evidence of other alien civilizations, some of which make the Zephyrian Empire look primitive by comparison." Admiral Sullivan studied the galactic map with growing concern. "Are you telling us we're going to face even more powerful enemies?" "Possibly," Turner admitted. "But we're also going to have the tools to deal with them. The predecessors didn't disappear because they were weak. Something made them decide to leave this part of the galaxy, but they left behind everything we need to follow in their footsteps." Jake Morrison had been quiet during the briefing, but now he spoke up with the practical concerns of a field commander. "Captain, how long will it take to build more ships like the Horizon? How long before we can train crews to use this technology?" Turner and Maria exchanged glances before answering. "That's the challenge we're facing now, Commander. The predecessor technology doesn't just plug into human systems. It requires a complete rethinking of how we approach engineering and science. We're going to need years to develop the infrastructure to support even a small fleet of enhanced ships." Dr. Grant was already thinking about the research possibilities. "We'll need to establish dedicated facilities for studying the technology. Teams of scientists and engineers working together to understand principles that are completely foreign to human science." The meeting continued for hours as Turner and his crew shared everything they had learned during their 50-year odyssey. They had detailed maps of predecessor sites, technical specifications for equipment that operated on impossible principles, and most importantly, the beginning of an understanding of how to integrate alien technology with human systems. 6 months later, Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of a new type of warship. The UES Discovery was built using hybrid human predecessor technology, its capabilities far beyond anything the old fleet had possessed. Around him, other ships of the new fleet were preparing for their first major expedition. Captain Turner, now promoted to admiral, commanded the fleet from his rebuilt Horizon. The ship had been completely reconstructed, using knowledge gained from additional predecessor sites, making it even more capable than before, but it was no longer unique. Humanity now had a dozen ships capable of using the advanced technology. All ships, prepare for faster-than-light travel, Turner announced over the fleet communication system. We're heading for the coordinates, Dr. Grant identified last month. Intelligence suggests there's a major predecessor installation in that system. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, now serving as Morrison's executive officer aboard the Discovery, worked at her enhanced tactical station. The new displays showed information in ways that would have been impossible with old human technology, providing real-time analysis of quantum fields and subspace distortions. Sir, long-range sensors are detecting something unusual, she reported. There's an artificial signal coming from the target system. It's not using predecessor communication protocols. Jake studied the sensor reading with interest. In the month since the Battle of New Geneva, humanity had learned that the galaxy was far more complex and dangerous than they had ever imagined. The predecessors had been just one of many advanced civilizations, and not all of them had disappeared. Takand, you identify the source of the signal, he asked. Negative, sir, but the signal is definitely artificial and it's clearly not human or Zephyrian. We're dealing with something completely new. Turner's voice came over the communication system from the Horizon. All ships, I'm receiving the same readings. It appears we're about to make contact with another intelligence. Remember, we're not just representing humanity anymore. We're carrying the legacy of the predecessors as well. As the human fleet prepared to enter faster-than-light travel, Jake Morrison reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had gone from facing extinction to becoming the inheritors of ancient alien technology in less than a year. They were no longer a single species struggling to survive, but the next step in a chain of galactic civilizations that stretched back millions of years. The unknown signal continued to broadcast from their destination, a clear indication that humanity's greatest adventures were just beginning. Whatever was waiting for them in the target system, they would face it with technology and knowledge that made them more than human, yet still fundamentally committed to the values and courage that had carried them through their darkest hour.